That's one of 82 done for this Washington Wizards team, and a lot of good, a lot of bad, and a lot of ugly. But overall, a lot of positives we can take away from today's game. How it all went down, let's talk about some of the issues we saw today and some of the things we can take away about this youth movement as we go forward here on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you're locked on to the Washington Wizards. We're your part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We just hit 6,000 subscribers. Shout out to each and every one of you, the everydayers that make this channel what it is. Alongside the DC Sports content creating savant Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Schrober, and I cover all things DC Sports for 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. AB 133, 120. Bucks take it over the Wizards. The Wizards were simply overmatched today, but I think there's some positives we can take away from this today. That's one of 82, though, AB.
Yeah, early on, Ben, we were live streaming, and we appreciate everyone in the stream, but the game looked like it was going to get out of hand early. I mean, the Wizards were just getting ran through by the three-point line, and I think at the end of the day, that adjustment that you made in the second half, I mean, at one point, the game was within 5 points. I love the fight from the young guys, Kent Whitmore, Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, lots to break down, but game won at 82.
Yeah, when you give up 37 points and 14 rebounds to Giannis Antetokounmpo, you're going to have some problems.
Ben, how many posters did you have on Alex Sarr? I mean, that is insane.
Sarr definitely had some problems in that fourth quarter picking up on him, but we'll have more on Alex Sarr later as we roll throughout the episode. The one thing I wanted to harp on here early in this segment is the slow starts that plague this Wizards team. Physicality was an issue. We saw defensive rotations were really poor in the first half. They got better in the second half. But as we roll throughout the episode, we're going to touch on the positives, some things that we saw that were great today. Trey Johnson finding his stroke from beyond the arc. Cam Whitmore showcasing his physicality. And then Keyshawn George as well. Very impressive season opener to begin year number 2 for him. But AB, offensively, there was just no ball movement to start this game. And it felt like we were going to get boat raced early on in the game because Milwaukee started 80% from beyond the arc to start the game. It was ridiculous. You knew they were going to regress to the mean eventually, and Milwaukee ends up finishing 40% from 3, which is still really freaking good. But the fact that it started that way was because the Wizards were getting lost in transition. The offensive possessions were super poor. I thought McCollum and Middleton started off the game really poorly for this team, and there was just no fluidity offensively. I don't even know if I used that word right, but there was just no motion. The ball didn't move, and they were getting cooked in transition because they weren't
stagnant.
communicating.
I think that's the word, Ben.
Yeah, they were stagnant. And then they were getting cooked in transition because they weren't able to close out, and that led to a really hot start for Milwaukee. And the 3 of the 4 games we've seen this Wizards play in the 2025 campaign with the preseason included, slow starts have plagued them for the most part, other than the Knicks game, Abdullah.
Yeah, and you gave up 40 points in the first quarter, and like you mentioned, I think Linnell and we were talking about how you can't just expect a foul call, you fall down. You got to communicate. I mean, Milwaukee had so many fast break points. If I'm looking at it right now, Ben, I think so. Washington had 13 turnovers to Milwaukee's 8. Rebounding, we actually rebounded them by 10, 56 to 46, but Milwaukee was passing the ball around. And I think just overall, 17 points off turnovers for Milwaukee. And Giannis Antetokounmpo was getting his way. Kevin Porter Jr. actually went out with an injury when Cam Whitmore I think got into his body, which was an insane move by Cam, and the balance was insane. I think at the end of the day, there were a lot of positives, Ben, but one thing's for sure is that this is the reality of all these games that we're going to go into this season where there's going to be a guy who's going to bail this team out. And right tonight, it was Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee.
Yeah. Honestly, Abdullah, if you could have told me that the worst player on the floor for the Wizards in the opening night would be CJ McCollum, I would have thought you were crazy. But he was the worst player for the Wizards, a minus 19 point differential with him on the floor. He just really struggled to get it going offensively. 4-14. I feel like at times he rushed himself into his offensive possessions and didn't really look great defensively. And I was glad to see Trey Johnson when he got his opportunities. Just 26 minutes for Trey Johnson, scored 16 points. So was that the best rookie performance in a debut, right?
Yes, it was if I look at Chase Hughes' tweet, it was He broke John Wall and Rui Hachimura's debut record.
Yeah, he also hit 4 threes, which became a record, I believe, for a debut for a rookie player. So Trey Johnson, we'll talk
He looks
more about
comfortable,
him.
Ben. That's what I love to see.
We'll talk about Trey Johnson ad nauseum as we roll throughout the episode. But part of the slow start, Abdullah, like we're going to get a Jekyll and Hyde type of defensive effort from this Wizards team as the year goes on. And when we had Linnell on in the program during halftime, we noticed a difference from after the conversation we had with him in the second half when they really started to pick things up defensively. The defensive rotations, the way he put it, is they weren't on a string. They weren't rotating the right way. They weren't communicating. And ultimately, if you're going to give up a three-point shot, close out with a purpose. At least make it difficult on them. And they really didn't do that in the first half. I was glad that the effort was a lot better defensively in that second half, but I just fear at times we're going to see the team kind of fluctuate. It's a young team. It's tough to have 110% effort throughout the night, out every single night, especially in a 48-minute game throughout an 82-game season. But the flashes when the Wizards were not giving the effort they needed to defensively, it really showed just how bad it can be on defense.
And I really wonder, Ben, if they didn't dig themselves that hole in the first half, you let up 72 points. Maybe the game would have been more towards their way, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I like how they came out into the second half, but it's just at the end of the day, Ben, this Milwaukee Bucks team, Gary Trent Jr., Miles Turner, AJ Green, they have shooters. I mean, Kyle Kuzma was getting in on some action. It's just defensively, this was the topic that we were talking about. How can you get better? Perimeter defense, rebounding. I mean, rebounding really wasn't an issue tonight. Milwaukee wasn't really going into the paint. They were just shooting it from outside, and they were making a lot of shots. So I understand today's NBA, everyone wants to shoot threes, but you have to be better defensively.
Yeah, this is a good comment right here. The Wizards outscored the Bucks 97-93 from the second quarter on. That's a good point. You allow 72 points in the first half, which is very poor defensively from this Wizards team. And ultimately, defense is going to be a big problem. Yeah, they lack physicality. They lack a lot of size. And even Sarr, somebody that we believe can be a really good rim defender for this team, it was a struggle for him to match up with a guy like Giannis, who has such great physicality to his game. Man, sometimes like when you're watching it on the other end, you just kind of got to take it and be like, Giannis is a top 3 player in the world. He's going to get his buckets, and he's going to make really anybody that's out there guarding him look bad, but my God, he is a special player, and he gave Alex Sarr an absolute fit tonight.
You know who we missed tonight, Ben? Bilal.
He missed Bilal.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see him
tonight.
out there. Early on, they tried to send double teams, but Giannis, the high IQ individual player that he is, finds shooters in the corner, and that's what this Milwaukee offense and just system in general is. We're going to let Giannis run the offense, and they try to send a double team, kick it out to a shooter. So I respect the Wizards for at least trying to attempt to do something different.
Yeah. And it feels like we're talking about a lot of the negatives right now, but in my case, like I kind of want to just get it out of the way. Because if you talk about the negatives 24/7 with this Wizards team throughout this 82-game season, like what's the fun in that? You're just going to be beating a dead horse, saying that the team isn't going to be great defensively. They were better, actually, rebounding-wise than I thought tonight. Alex Sarr had a double-double, and I'll get into his offensive performance, which I didn't think was great by any means, but I was happy to at least see him rebound the ball a little bit better today. But it's going to be a struggle defensively this year. It just is. Like, we all knew that. We know they're an organization that preaches defense, so it's tough to see the results look that way, but I promise there's going to be a lot more positive things as we roll throughout this episode here.
It was the Chris Middleton revenge show tonight, Ben. I mean, you were talking about it, how he was just getting his. You love to see it. 23.6 rebounds, 3 assists. One thing that I do want to talk about, Ben, I know we're talking about negatives, but Cam Whitmore only getting 19 minutes, Ben. I understand it's the first game, new Wizard, but I thought he could have got more minutes out there because he was cooking. I mean, his ability to get downhill, he hit some three-point shots as well. Do you think it's just like an aberration? It's the first game. He's definitely going to get more minutes later on in the season?
I think so. He didn't really have it going from outside today. He went 1 of 5 from beyond the arc, and there was one really bad shot where he kind of pump faked it first.
Well, he should have shot the first one.
Yeah, but his physicality really stood out to me. The fact that he put Kevin Porter Jr. out of this game with the left ankle injury, and that was tough to see because I didn't want to see the guy go down. But Cam Whitmore lowered the right shoulder and got him out of his way. That's 6'7", 250. That's a freight train running at you, and he used his size to advantage plenty of times today. So there's going to be a lot of good things to say about Whitmore as we roll throughout this program as well. Just another thing I wanted to kind of harp on here as we finish up this final segment here in terms of being overmatched. It's just tough because you run this lineup where you don't even have a big in to start the fourth quarter, and maybe that's strategic of this Wizards team because it was a 10-point game entering the fourth quarter, and then they roll out a lineup with absolutely no big, and they really just start to get torched, especially inside. Then they put Sarr in, and it actually, didn't really improve anything because Giannis just took over the game. That's what he does. But the Wizards just have no size right now, and it's very evident that's going to make it really hard for them to win games, Abdullah.
Yeah, that's one thing that we were talking about going into this season. And ideally, Ben, you put up 120 points. If you're a team that can play average defense, you win that game, but it just wasn't the case tonight. But I will say, Ben, I thought I was in last year. I thought I was watching the last year Wizards where it's like, oh, the game's over by halftime, but you find a way. You were down 19 going into the third quarter, and to get into 5, to me, it was very impressive. I understand, no moral victories, but at the end of the day, this Wizards squad, we have to be real with ourselves. We want to see this team win, obviously, but to see them compete, that C word that we're always talking about, that's what happened tonight. And they pulled away late in the fourth quarter because that's what superstars do. And we're hoping down the line a guy, because you mentioned maybe Bilal gets labeled as this baby Giannis, but if we have a form of that guy in the future, it starts from games like this where you learn, where you understand that there's superstars that's going to take over the game, and that's what happened tonight.
Dude, they competed. They didn't bow out early in the game when they go down early. They fought back, and they really made this game interesting for part of it. I don't think Wizards fans turned this game off in the second half. Maybe they turned it off with 5 minutes left, but that's okay. In a season where you're trying to protect your first-round pick as well, I think a lot of Wizards fans can live with the result that happened tonight. You had the effort that was there after really the first quarter of the game, from then on in the game, and you saw some great things out of your youth. What exactly did we see from the young squad today? We're going to tell you when we come back on Locked On Wizards. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick up more or less on the player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing yards for a touchdown. You're in the game that way. I love how quick it is with PrizePicks. You can make your lineup in under a minute. My favorite part, PrizePicks just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, all in one lineup. It's also fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with just one click. And the new injury reboot feature, if your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. There's a special max discount promotion live on the board right now for the Golden State Warriors vs. Lakers game, which was yesterday, so that one falls behind there. But download the PrizePicks apps today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 off in your lineups when you play with your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards that you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent, it's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. I love that with Built, your rent finally works for you. You're earning points in every month on something you have to pay. Whether I'm grabbing food at my favorite local restaurant or heading to the gym, I'm still earning rewards. Built has made every day feel more rewarding in my life. From your neighborhood to your travel plans, turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use the link so they know that we sent you. Enough with the negatives. Let's get into the positives for this Washington Wizards team today. It was the NBA debut for one Trey Johnson, the number 6 overall pick for this Washington Wizards team, and he lit it up at one point, knocked down 3 straight three-pointers at one point in the second quarter. AB, it was just so good to see him find that stroke.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about going into the season. What he did, leading in minutes in the SEC as a 19-year-old, his game was going to translate, and that's what we wanted to see, a guy who was a polished scorer, and we're going to see more of that. And I think tonight he had 26 minutes. We're hoping to see more of that. I think eventually, hopefully before the All-Star break, even crack the starting lineup potentially, Ben. But Trey Johnson, he's just so gifted. And for him to be looking that comfortable game one against a Bucks team, which I want to emphasize, Ben, this Bucks team is going to be competing in the Eastern Conference. They're not like a team that's going to be bottom of the barrel. So I love how he was so comfortable out there, and if he made a mistake or if he missed a shot, went back on defense. It was just the effort was there. He was checking off a lot of boxes, and this is game. I can't even speak right now. This is because I'm talking about Trey Johnson, but this is just game one, Ben, and we're hoping to see this more come Friday night when they face off Dallas. Because again, you're going up against Cooper Flag.
Look, I had high expectations for Trey Johnson, and I think everyone that watches this channel knows exactly how high I think of the guy and how special I think he can be in just his rookie season. But I did not expect him to be a substantially better player than CJ McCollum in his first NBA game. And albeit it was a really bad night for McCollum, so I'm not trying to say he's a better player than McCollum right now. But Trey Johnson was the better player tonight in this game. And there's still at times when Johnson gets the basketball, and I see the tenacity and the innate ability to kind of use his IQ and see where he should be on the floor, especially when he gets the basketball in his hands. I mean, one of the things coming out in college is that he wasn't great penetrating and getting the rim and ultimately finishing there. And, we still see the growing pains with that. There were times in this game where Trey Johnson gets the basketball and he makes a pretty good drive to the basket, but he doesn't quite look comfortable enough. He picks up his dribble too early, runs himself into a double team. Those are just going to be growing pains for this guy, but the fact that he's getting it done from beyond the arc already, which we knew he was going to do, and that was going to translate at the NBA level early on, is a good sign. Everything else is going to fall into place as the season goes on. Let's crank it up. Let's see him continue to build upon this performance. That's a great way to start your career for Trey Johnson.
And how about another young guy, Ben? Keyshawn George, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. I mean, Ben, his ability to go downhill, be aggressive, that mid-range shot, the three-point shot. I mean, there's a possibility where this guy, we're gonna talk about this every night, where who's gonna be the best out of the sophomores right now, and Keyshawn George is gonna make a case for that every single night because he's just so effective when he's on the court, on and off. And I just feel like right now, from where he is, I want to see more minutes of him. I think he led the team in minutes in general with 32, if I'm looking at it right now, and maybe that's the reality that we're gonna see. And when Bilal comes back, you put there's no way, Ben, these 82 games, if Keyshawn George is available, there's no way he can't. A reality where he is not able to start. He should be starting all 82.
Yeah, he was excellent today. I love the way he's increased his confidence. And do you see the hype video they put out actually yesterday about the whole season? The end of it is Keyshawn George hitting that game winner in the inner squad scrimmage. And he screams, "That's game."
The graphic, Ben, sorry to cut you off, but the graphic, he's literally in the middle, and it just goes to show how much confidence this organization has in him.
I was impressed by his confidence because he was screaming, "That's game," at these veteran players as he goes up and takes a game-winning shot in practice. This dude has a different feeling to himself right now that we didn't see necessarily last year, and it's because he had such a great summer. I think, in a really good offseason overall. And there's a reason that this organization, Dawkins and Keefe, were so high on what he did this offseason. They said, just wait until you see what Keyshawn George has been up to this summer. He's going to be special. And tonight, he was the best ball handler for this team. And I know that's going to be a big, big topic of discussion. There's going to be a lot of dialogue that goes around through Wizards. I've already seen some of it about the idea of point Keyshawn. And the opportunities where Keyshawn got to run the point today, he looked good. He looked comfortable. He looks like a guy, even though he's still filling out his frame a little bit. He had the ability to get the ball up the court and initiate the offense. He was great getting downhill. Man, Keyshawn George might end up being a big guard for this team at some point this year. We're gonna have to see how things develop with Bub as the season goes on. But I wanted to get into Bub, actually. He played 29 minutes today, just 2 assists for him. Wasn't really doing a whole lot facilitating-wise, and that's one thing that you want to see him get better at as the season goes on. But he was aggressive to start the game, and then he got it going from beyond the arc, which we knew was a strength to his game. He hit the most three-pointers out of all the rookies last year, and then ultimately he hits 3 in a row in the third quarter to help them get back into this game. But still didn't see the point guard stuff from Bub Carrington tonight. I'm seeing the combo stuff. It's going to be a matter of time, though, to see if he can get better as the point.
At what point, Ben? I asked you this before, but do you say like, okay, we've seen enough. I don't think Bub can be that point guard here. Maybe he's more suited for to be that combo role.
It seemed tonight they didn't necessarily go to him all the time to run the point. Like there were possessions where they had him sitting and they'd have McCollum trying to initiate the offense or whatever. It seems like it kind of fluctuated throughout the game, and I don't know. Maybe that's just the way they're going to go about this process with him. But I know there's a lot of people that have already said in the chat they didn't really see it with him as a point guard today, but Bub was good defensively tonight as well. So I'm going to give him his flowers because I feel like the effort from him was great defensively. He was pretty good on his switches. The rotations were there. Bub can be a plus defender, I think, if he really works at it and he puts in the effort to be there. That's going to be the thing for this entire team as the season goes on. If you have the effort there defensively, you get to your closeout spot and close out hard, good things are going to happen. There's one play in this game from Keyshawn George that stuck out to me because of the entire halftime conversation we had. Keyshawn George closed out super hard on a shot that should have been a wide open look for Milwaukee. He closed out hard and affected the shot. It came up short. Then he went out in transition. He got the outlet pass and flushed it home. That's what happens when you close out hard. You allow yourself to get the opportunity to push in transition because that's going to be the number one thing for this Wizards team this year is can you play in transition and feed off your defensive momentum?
And I think this team can play fast, man. We saw Milwaukee do it tonight, but again, that's what comes when you're a young team. You know, you lose track of where you're at, and some guys on the floor, and the miscommunication occurs. But I think if this team can find a way, like you mentioned, to do what Keyshawn George does, and play as a team, defensively, close out, it leads to open dunk opportunities. And I just think, man, like this team put up 120 against a really good Eastern Conference team. Granted, they lost Kevin Porter Jr., but still, I mean, against a lot of other teams, there's a chance where they're really within a 2 to 3 point game within a minute left. But at the end of the day, a lot of optimism to come out of this game. And I know Wizards fans are frustrated because it's another loss. I already saw a Barstool DMV post Washington Wizards eliminated when it was literally halftime of the game. So it's all banter. But I wanted to get into, Ben, Corey Kispert. He had 11 points. He was on fire early on. But for me, and again, I don't know if a lot of people will agree with me out there, but Justin Champagnie, I think, has to be getting more minutes than Corey Kispert because, again, there's not going to be a lot of these nights where Corey Kispert's going to be able to shoot it from three-point line. And if he can't shoot the ball, he's really not contributing much because, like we mentioned time and time and again, he is a liability on defense. And I know JC got hit in the nose, so hopefully he's okay. But I'm hoping down the line because JC plays with heart. He plays with effort. I'm hoping that we can see him more. And also, I love Marvin Bagley, Ben. I know he's 26 years old, but TV, it's year 3. I don't get it. When will Coach Keefe unleash him?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like they've set this roster up to be so bad at center because, like, the only move you made is you get Bagley, and then you just have Sarr out there playing, and you know, maybe at times you wonder if Sarr can be a true 5 for this team. But Sarr would be better if they had another physical big playing alongside of him. And I'm not trying to disregard your question. Sorry, to go back on Corey Kispert. I think Kispert has his place in this rotation. I do, and we're going to see that as the year goes on because ultimately I think you want to be able to trade this guy as well, and I don't want him to take minutes from a guy like Whitmore as the season goes on as well, but you know, Kispert has his place in the rotation, I'd say, for right now because of what he can do offensively. He helped him compete, and then ultimately I think you get him out of there in situations where you want your young guys getting those clutch reps, but yeah, defensively it's obviously going to be a problem for him. That's just kind of who Corey Kispert is at this point, but you know, it is what it is at the end of the day.
I just don't want to see games like this where Cam Whitmore and Corey Kispert have the same amount of minutes, if that makes sense.
All right, let's take one more quick break. When we come back, let's break down some of our final thoughts. I wanted to get into Alex Sarr a little bit when we come back here on Locked On Wizards. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiet comes in. Rougiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiet makes it to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, and no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Let's assess Alex Sarr's offensive performance today because he looked physical and he did some really good things in the preseason. Today, I feel like he slightly took a step back in terms of physicality that I wanted to see. And there was one moment in the first half where he got the ball and he sealed off Miles Turner, drop-stepped around and made a great move. And he went up and I thought he was going to punch it on his head. And then he kind of decided at the last second not to. Not to say it was an awful performance. He went 5 of 10, didn't take a single three-pointer for the first time in his career. He also added 11 rebounds, which is good to see. So, maybe a little bit of a step forward because I like the shot selection we saw from Sarr today, but I still think we need to see the confidence go up. I know we had the small flashes where it looked good today, but I just need to see a little bit more from him. I'm excited to see that grow as the season goes on, AB.
And there were times, Ben, when you saw Alex Sarr have a younger or had the size advantage over a guy who was like 6'4", 6'5", when Alex Sarr 7'1", and there's why are you fading away there? You see that time and time and again last year, and we're hoping that he works on that this year. And it was great to see him not take any three-pointers. Not saying I don't want him to shoot the three-point ball, but that's what he wanted to do going into the season. The shot diet, the shot selection, he wanted to be better. And I think also there was one play where Chris Middleton had a turnover because he thought Alex Sarr was going to roll. Alex Sarr, and Linnell talked about this, the pick and roll is like you have to be crisp with it, and especially when you want this team to play fast, like that's how you cost you. It can be a swing because it's a turnover. They go on a fast break. It's just small things like that that'll build up, and you just got to be able to be more physical at the end of the day. And I think he can be. And it's crazy we're talking about this. He had a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists in a game where he definitely could have played better. But we'll just have to see. And I know a lot of people are calling him out on, he couldn't guard Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's be real, Ben. How many guys in the league can actually guard a guy like him?
It's tough. Giannis is going to make a lot of defenders look silly out there. And I'm going to make this clear. I'll preface it this way. I'm going to be super hard on Alex Sarr this year. And the reason for that is because I have really high expectations for him. I think he can really be so good for this team, and I think he can change the trajectory of this franchise at some point if he's able to develop in the way that's most beneficial to him in this organization. And maybe that means at some point they're going to have to get another big to play alongside of him. But I'm going to be hard on him because I want him to be great. I see the flashes with this guy and the ability that he provides and what it could mean for the organization as they try to take the next step in the rebuild as the season goes on and as the years go on. So things like physicality are going to be such an important thing because that's really that's an Alex Sarr versus Alex Sarr thing. It's not him going up against Giannis and getting cooked, all right? That's going to happen. He's tough to stop physically. But times where he makes the decision to fade away or he decides not to dunk the ball or he decides not to go up because he shies away from the contact, that's a him versus him moment. And I want him to overcome himself in those moments as the season goes on. I think it's going to be a big year for him. Tonight was a step in the right direction in some realms, but I think it's going to continue to get better as the season goes on.
And on Friday, you're guarding Anthony Davis, or I think AD's playing the 4 or 5 in Dallas.
Yeah, he's 80s. Cooper Flagg is playing point guard for Dallas right now.
That's going to be a fun matchup, Ben. And I think this team, if they can find a way to play how they did in the second half of this game going into Dallas, I think it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm not sure we're going to do live stream situation for that yet. I have a play-by-play game at Georgetown that will be over right around the time that starts. I might miss the first quarter of that game or something like that. Out. But we'll figure it out. AB, anything that we didn't really cover tonight?
Wizards basketball is back, guys. I know it was a loss. We're on the verge of going 81-1. I'm being serious, but I think right now it's just you have to understand that there's not going to be a lot of wins. And I know you don't want to hear that, but the reality situation is how did they lose? That's the more bigger deal. I know it's it is what it is. Giannis Antetokounmpo, like we mentioned, had 37 points tonight, 14 rebounds. It's going to happen. But how did the team let it happen? I mean, he just had his own way. They tried, and they did adjustments, and that's what I want to see. How does Coach Keefe, when his young players are going out there getting cooked offensively from the perimeter or just the kickouts, how do you find a way to change something up? Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, it's insane. That's what standard is. So I just feel like this young squad, a lot of hiccups, but they're definitely going to learn from it.
And think about it this way, just like listen to the tone of our voice right here. This is a loss, but at the end of the day, I can live with the performance that we saw today because all you can really ask for is competitiveness right now for this team. Third youngest team in the NBA. There's going to be those growing pains. They struggled to rotate defensively. They got burned from beyond the arc in transition early in the game. It happens. They learned from it. They picked it up, and they ultimately got better as the game went on today, and I expect them to get better as the season goes on. They got 81 more games to develop and really see where this thing is heading throughout year 3 of the rebuild. I think today was a sign that this is going to be a fun year of Wizards basketball, AB.
Yep, and again, it was a tale of two halves because you're down by 19 going into the first half, and Ben, you and I were thinking, man, you give up 72 points. They're on the verge of scoring 160, and I just feel like you competed and brought it to a 5-6 point game, and that's all you could ask for.
Absolutely. All right, that'll do it for us here today on Locked On Wizards. We want to thank everyone that joined the live stream watch party today that's in the live for the post-game pod right now. Be sure to get this wherever you get your podcast tomorrow. Show this to any of your, if you got Wizards friends that aren't aware of the podcast yet, make sure they see this coverage Monday through Friday. We'll have the coverage for you all season long here on Locked On Wizards. Big thank you to all of you, the everydayers, 6,000 subscribers. We officially hit that milestone today. So big ups to all of you that have been part of this journey. Regular season basketball is back. It was a loss, but at the end of the day, certain aspects of it felt like a win. We want to thank everyone for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Fantasy Basketball Podcast. If you play, Josh Lloyd will get you right. We'll make sure your lineup is where it needs to be. For my co-host, Abdullah, I'm Ben Strober, DC family. We'll talk to you tomorrow.